Welcome back. So these and the next lessons will be about how powers fit into what we know about simplifying formulas. To remind you, a power is a short way of writing a repeated multiplication. And this is true for letters as well. So x squared means that we take the number x, whatever that number is, and multiply it by itself. So x squared is always equal to x times x. And similarly, x cubed means x times x times x, and x to the power of 4 means x times x times x times x, and so on. Now, when we simplify formulas, we have to decide which of these we take to be the simplified version. And we have decided that the simplified version here is x to the power of 6, which is shorter. So when we have a multiplication involving the same letters, when we simplify the formula, we write that multiplication as a power. Let's look at an example of a formula, x cubed times x squared. We can write this out as a multiplication if we like. X cubed is the same as x times x times x, and x squared is the same as x times x. So this formula is a shorter way of writing x times x times x times x times x. But we can write this multiplication in a shorter way, as x to the power of 5. So the simplified version of this formula is x to the power of 5. Now, usually we don't write out the entire multiplication because that takes too much time. Instead, we simply keep track of how many factors there are using the exponents. We have 3 identical factors, x here, and then 2 more. So that means we have 5 identical factors. So the new exponent will be 5. And this actually leads to our first rule. When we multiply powers with the same base, we can write them as one power, and the exponent of that power will be the sum of the original exponents. So when multiplying powers, we add the exponents. A few examples. A to the power of 4 times a to the power of 6. Again, we could write this out, though we usually don't, and if we do write it as one long product, that product will contain the factor a 4 times and then 6 more times. So 10 times in total. So in the end, we raise a to the power of 10. And this 10 is just a result of adding the 4 and the 6. X cubed means x times x times x. And then we multiply it by another x. So like in the last video, we see that a letter without an exponent actually has an exponent of 1. So when we multiply these powers, this x here adds another factor. So when we add the exponents, we add 3 and 1, which makes 4. So x cubed times x becomes x to the power of 4. When powers are part of a larger product involving numbers, we can multiply those numbers as always. So 2n squared times negative 3n cubed, written as a multiplication, it becomes 2 times n times negative 3 times n times n times n. And in a multiplication, order doesn't matter, so we can evaluate the 2 times negative 3 first. That becomes negative 6. And then we are left with n times n times n times n times n, which is n to the power of 5. So the simplified formula here is negative 6 times n to the power of 5. As a final example for now, how do we read and simplify this? Well, x cubed y squared means x times x times x times y, and xy cubed means x times y times y times y. So keep in mind that the 3 here attaches only to the y, because powers go before multiplication. So if we write this out, we get one long multiplication, and we see the factor x 4 times and the factor y 5 times. So this is x to the power of 4, y to the power of 5. And again, this also just follows from adding the exponents. This 3 plus an invisible 1 makes 4, and 2 plus 3 makes 5. So this should prepare you for most of the regular multiplications that you will encounter. And in the next lesson, we will look at addition and subtraction.